Derby Wars, racing's biggest contest site, is now even bigger with more than 200 games every day. Check out Survivor, Derby Wars' hottest new game. It's fun, easy to play, and for just $4 you could win $1,000. Just pick a horse to finish first, second, or third and advance to the next race. With daily payouts and games starting every hour, you'll see why fans are racing to play Survivor. Go to DerbyWars.com now, use promo code Survivor to get 5 free Survivor games with your first deposit.
Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsey, and as always, I have the great pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm great, Brian. I'd like to say just a day late, happy Father's Day to all of our racing fans who maybe were taken to the racetrack for the first time by their fathers, just like you and I.
Happy Father's Day to you, Matt. And I think we should talk about a lot of very good American racing over the week. But before we talk anything that happened in the U.S., we need to talk about the mare, the American mare that went to Royal Ascot and is coming home a hero. Of course, I'm talking about Tepin, Matt. Tepin, Group 1, Queen Anne Stakes. Opening day, it was last Tuesday at Royal Ascot. She did not disappoint.
She was absolutely amazing, Brian. I don't think that we can easily fathom how difficult a task that was to take the plane over. Completely new and totally different surroundings. And I guess from the reports from Team Cassie, she just takes everything in stride, checks it out, and she's ready to roll. And she beat a pretty good field over there at Royal Ascot. That's the biggest feather that you can get in a cap of an American racehorse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there are some bigger races in Europe, but Royal Ascot brings out the good ones. And Matt, no, this was high quality. There were several of Europeans' best milers. Solo, unfortunately, is going through some injuries right now, so no Solo. But other than him, a lot of Europe's best milers were in. We're talking a very soft turf course on Tuesday. We're talking about a straightaway. We're talking about no nasal strip or no Lasix. It doesn't matter. You're right. She's an easygoing filly, and she just keeps keeping on. Matt, that's 7 in a row. She's 5 for 5 this year. It's arguable. The biggest race she's won in her life, I'd have to say, is still the Breeders' Cup Mile. But this is right up there. I mean, this is going to Royal Ascot. This is going across the pond, having all those things really against her, and it didn't matter. She got the job done.
She did, and I tell you what, it carries an awful lot of weight with me when the fillies and mares go and beat the male counterparts, particularly the quality that she took on at Royal Ascot.
Yeah, she's done it twice in a row now, Matt. Clearly the best miler in the world, at least the best miler that's running, currently healthy. Can't wait to see her back. She's coming down back to Louisville soon for a rest of the 2016 campaign in the United States. 5 for 5 this year, Matt. I don't know about you, but the NTRA top 10 that I just submitted today, I had Tepin number 1. I think the horse of the year might be tough for her to get as it all shakes out with the Breeders' Cup Classic looming as America's most important race. But as of now, I don't think there's any question that she has accomplished more this year than any American racehorse.
You know, I agree with you, Brian, and I feel a little bit ashamed that I still have California Chrome on top. I don't know. I think it's just a matter of the way it's been, but I agree with you, Brian. Her campaign, 5 races, 1 against the boys. She went overseas. Chrome went overseas, but I think she's had a better campaign, and I agree with you, Brian. I think she deserves the number 1 vote. In terms of Horse of the Year, like I said, I think there's a lot of people that are just voting for Chrome because they've been voting for Chrome. But even still, I think it's going to take a loss from Chrome for Tepin to get Horse of the Year. But I'll tell you what, Chrome loses a race and Tepin keeps going. I got no problem with her as Horse of the Year.
Well, yeah, I mean, Right. So I have her number one now, but I think she's at a severe disadvantage. She's pointing for the Breeders' Cup Mile again, a race she's already won. Um, the Breeders' Cup Classic is the biggest race in America, at least the most important race in America as far as year-end awards. You've got Chrome. Now, Chrome, I don't necessarily think is heads and tails above other classic horses. You know how I feel about Frosted. Beholder, I certainly think is a big threat, and maybe the 3-year-olds, including Nyquist, start going that way. Start looking at the classic. The problem with Tepin is I think if Nyquist or Frosted or Chrome or Beholder, and I don't care if they lose a race. Frosted's already lost one race. Nyquist has already lost one race. Chrome very well could lose a race. Beholder very well could lose a race. But if any of those four win the classic, then I think the job for Tepin to be named Horse of the Year becomes very difficult.
I think that's fair. I agree with that. With most of those horses that you've said, that if they win the classic, it's going to be tough for Tepin. But I don't rule out the chance that that she gets Horse of the Year, and it's happened in the past.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with talking about the Horse of the Year this early. And even if she doesn't win Horse of the Year, who really cares? What she's done already this year, what she did at the end of last year, just amazing. And to have one of our own go over to Royal Ascot, win on their conditions, their surface, it was special. Tepin is a special turf mare. Matt, she's the queen of the turf, but what about the princess of the West Coast? Of course, I'm talking about Songbird returning. She was only gone a couple months. It seemed like maybe a little longer. She missed the Kentucky Oaks. Seemed like old times for Songbird in the summertime Oaks.
More of the same from Songbird. Really soft field, and she was in cruise control and right on by and right down the stretch. It's what we've been seeing this year from Songbird.
She totally outclasses her competition so far. I think she has faced some good fillies over the races. I don't necessarily think that she faced anything lately. Certainly this race on Saturday was not a lot in there. I see all the demands by people that don't own her. She must do this, she must do that. Really? I mean, she's winning graded stakes races for fun. I don't think she needs to do anything. But it looks like the task, the job, the excitement level for fans will be ratcheted up a notch, Matt, because they're talking Saratoga. They're talking Coaching Club American Oaks in July, and then the Alabama, 2 Grade 1 races at Saratoga for Songbird.
And I think that's absolutely terrific for the race fans. She's going to come east to Saratoga, and she's no doubt is going to run into Karina Mia, probably Catherine Sophia. By then, we'll have the return of Rachel's Valentina. So all of that is going to be great. It's never easy, Brian, as we know, to go and make your first start at Saratoga. That's going to add some interest and intrigue into her next start. So it's all good with that move by Team Songbird.
Yeah, it's a good move. We all appreciate it as fans. We want to see Songbird with a little bit more of a test. I do wonder, though, if any of the fillies on the East Coast can run with her. Remember, she came east or as far east as Kentucky last year for the Breeders' Cup, and it really wasn't much of a match. Karina Mia, too, I wonder, there's a reasonable chance that she goes test instead of going 9 or 10 furlongs, and she's currently my second best 3-year-old filly. So, yeah, Saratoga brings a new facet to it, the graveyard of favorites, the graveyard of champions. But still, I wonder if Songbird's truly going to be tested in those races either.
It'll be interesting, and we've got a lot of interesting things to look forward to in the second half of this year, and that's just one of them. It does sound like we're going to have to wait to see her take on the boys until she's a 4-year-old, though.
Yeah, they're staying with the fillies for now, and I can't completely blame them. Matt, one thought that did come up a bit was maybe Songbird is a Haskell horse. That's been nipped in the bud by the owner, Rick Porter. Saratoga is the way to go. but we should start talking about the Haskell, because the Haskell has the potential to really be a bridge from the first half to the second half. The 3-year-old males certainly are a wide open division. Nyquist is the leader with the Derby, 3 out of 4 wins. However, new horses are coming up, and one of those horses, not a new horse, but a horse that might have a big say in the second half of the year, is Gunrunner.
And Gunrunner looked really terrific, taking the Matt win at Churchill Downs in the Downs at the Dark card. And that was a wonderful card on Saturday night, Brian, and I know you were there. He did everything that he should, handled that field nicely, and opened up and drew away. And right after, Steve Asmussen said they're on their way to the Haskell, and he sure looks like he has the right running style for the Monmouth Park Strip.
Yeah, he does. He's got speed, and he's also very tactical. If the pace is fast in the Haskell, he can sit second or third, as he's done so many times before. But then he can wire races like he did in the Matt Win. Now, the Matt Win, frankly, was no tougher a test for him than Songbird had in California. We were talking about lesser horses that he was beating, but he did it the right way. He did it easily. He did it in stakes record performance. It was almost a track record. I was there on Saturday at Churchill Downs for the 5 graded states, Downs After the Dark, and frankly, he was the star of the night in my eyes. Gunrunner has only lost 1 race this year, Matt, and that, of course, was the Kentucky Derby, where he got a little short down the stretch, finished 3rd behind Nyquist and Exaggerator. No shame in that. Now, in the Haskell, I think he has the potential of being the clear favorite, unless there's a certain Kentucky Derby winner that shows up on the Jersey Shore, and then the Haskell becomes very interesting.
And I think from what Doug O'Neill said, now that Nyquist is back in training, is that the Haskell is one of the possible races for Nyquist along the rest of the way, along with the Travers, along with the Breeders' Cup. So I don't think it's out of the question. I was at Monmouth Park on Sunday, and I was talking to Bob Kalina, who is the big guru. He runs the invitations for the Haskell, and he said he's talked to Doug O'Neill, continue to talk to Doug O'Neill, and that Nyquist coming is certainly a possibility for the Haskell, along with along with the usual big trainers who like to support the Haskell, like Baffert and Pletcher and Dale Romans.
Yeah, we'll see some good horses in the Haskell for sure. Pletcher's got some options. I think Romans is leaning towards Brody's Cause going to New Jersey. Baffert will have American Freedom, the lightly raced winner, the Sir Barton. Nyquist, though, really makes the race for me. Other than that, I think Gunrunner is going to be really tough to beat, but a Gunrunner Haskell matchup against Nyquist is a big deal. It makes sense. Nyquist, they're talking San Diego handicap possibly, but that's against California Chrome. The Jim Dandy is less money and maybe a tougher overall field. So the Haskell, the $1 million Haskell, Monmouth Park, California horses have done well there. Love to see a Nyquist and Gunrunner matchup on the Jersey Shore for you, Matt.
And again, Nyquist seems like a horse that is very, very well suited to Monmouth Park.
Yes, let's take nothing away from Gunrunner. We got off the beaten path there, Matt, on Nyquist, but Gunrunner, 1 loss this year, Kentucky Derby. Matt Win was a big stakes record. Gunrunner, in my mind, is back in the race. Now, he's 4th for sure because the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont are the biggest wins a 3-year-old could have so far. So he's behind each of those 3. But he's close, and I think Gunrunner is the type of horse who could go a long way in the second half and maybe end up a 3-year-old champion.
He's a horse that's getting better. He's a horse that really has not run a bad race in his career.
Yeah. Well, I just said that Gunrunner was the highlight of the night at Churchill Downs for me. Of course, we had 5 graded stakes here in Louisville on Saturday night, the biggest being the Stephen Foster. Matt, first off, before we talk about Eddie Keneally's nice veteran Bradester, who seems to be getting a little bit better every year, let's talk about Jimmy Jerkins. I hate to be negative, but Jimmy Jerkins was lined up for a big weekend with Unified at Monmouth Sunday in the Pegasus and FNX Saturday night in the Stephen Foster, and it did not work out well for either of Jerkins' horses.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Brian. I was right down at the rail after the Pegasus at Monmouth yesterday, and Jerkins, he looked a little shell shocked because just as happened with FNX, Unified, was in good position throughout the race, but just did not fire at all. Same kind of thing can be said about FNX. He was in good position in the Stephen Foster coming around the turn, but when it was time to run, he just came up empty. So tough day for Jimmy Jerkins. He's a good guy in racing, but his two big ones just did not fire.
Yeah, tough weekend for Jerkins. Less than 24 hours, Louisville to Jersey Shore. FNX, I hope he bounces back. He's had so many good races in the last year that, frankly, the Foster was too bad to be believed. Gary Stevens was on him. Came up empty. That left Bradester alone. I thought Eagle, the second-place horse, ran a very good race. Bradester was on the lead while Eagle was well off, and Eagle was forced wide on the far turn to rally for second. But Bradester looked like a winner the whole way.
Yeah, it seems like a show where we're talking about Monmouth Park a lot, but Bradester's big races recently have been at Monmouth Park. Last year, he had 2 graded stakes wins there on the lead. Since he liked the track so much, they shipped him up from Churchill to make his debut in the Majestic Light. And again, he went wire to wire, and hey, he did the exact same thing at Churchill. He just went wire to wire. He got out front. Joe Bravo did a terrific job on him, got the lead, settled nicely, without pressure, got a breather, and had enough left to win the race convincingly.
Yeah, I had some money on him because I thought 9-1 was a steal considering how good a speed horse he is. But on the other hand, I know this horse struggles for respect. Like I said, he's gotten better every year for Eddie Keneally. I wonder if this is a horse that can move forward, maybe threaten Frosted in the Whitney, or even become a Breeders' Cup Classic horse. A long time ago, they said absolutely not for Black Tie Affair, but he just kept wiring big races after big races. Maybe Bradester's that type. I'm not ready to go that far yet, but it was a very nice performance. Matt, we talked about Gunrunner, Haskell bound after the Matt win. We talked about Songbird, a stroll in the park in the Summertime Oaks. Most of all, we talked about Tepin and a wonderful win at Royal Ascot in the Queen Anne Stakes. Next week, I guess we're looking forward to the Ohio Derby up at Thistledown near Cleveland, and then we're talking about the Gold Cup at Santa Anita. It looks like at this time we've got Melatonin as the favorite in the Gold Cup and Motom as the favorite in the Ohio Derby.
Yeah, and it's one thing that's different about this year. Last year, the Horse of the Year was all wrapped up at this time. I mean, it was wonderful with the Triple Crown, but we got a lot of interest the rest of the year with the discussion we had about the Horse of the Year and that being wide open. So lots of important races and lots of good stuff for you and I to talk about on HorseCenter.
That's right, Matt. We have a great summer coming up, and we have a lot of wide open divisions. Some of those divisions might be down to 1 or 2 horses. A lot of them are really, truly wide open. It's going to be a fun summer. I'm going to share it with you, partner. Thank you for being with me today.
My pleasure, as always. And as always, thank you, Ember Mar.
Thank you, Ember Mar. Thank you, folks, for watching. As always, we're brought to you by the best contest site out there, Derby Wars. We'll see you next week. We're going to have some different features for you next week. Matt and I are going to dig down deep into our bag of tricks. We're going to talk about the Gold Cup and the Ohio Derby, but we'll have a little bit more for you, too. It's summertime, Matt. The Summertime Oaks, I guess, wasn't officially summer, but it kicked off the summer for us. Let's have some fun with this racing season.
I look forward to it, Brian.
We'll see you next week, folks.